Welcome to Accelerate OC, the only show focused on the people leading innovation in Orange County. Join our host, Kerry Ransom, in his conversation. Welcome to Accelerate OC, the only show focused on the people leading innovation in Orange County. Join our host, Kerry Ransom, in his conversations with the trendsetters, entrepreneurs, investors, and leaders here, because it's time to Accelerate OC.
Good morning. Welcome to Accelerate OC. I'm Kerry Ransom, and thanks always to our engineer Paul for making me and my guests sound so good. Today's episode is sponsored by OC4 Ventures, which is a new venture studio and fund that I'm involved with here. And we're identifying some of today's Orange County entrepreneurs who are the most promising, exciting, and in the tech community, and really looking to dent the universe. And through OC4 Ventures, we'll provide them capital, we'll provide them coaching, we'll help them collide with some of the best talent in the area, and also connect them into our vibrant startup and support community here. So if you are or know one of those entrepreneurs, please contact me and would love to get you involved. I'm really excited to have Dawn Reese here today. And before we get to hear from Dawn and all about her business career, as well as the amazing nonprofit that she leads, let me tell you a little bit about her. So Dawn is an author, she's a consultant, she's a mentor, she's a national speaker, and she covers a number of different areas, but she is particularly focuses on things like board governance, strategic planning, fundraising, and creative youth development. And for the last 10 years, she's been with an organization here called the Wooden Floor. And most of those, she's served as the CEO. And I'll let her tell you much more about the organization and its mission and impact it's having. But what she probably won't share, so I will, is that she and this organization have been lavished with recognition and honors for the great work that she and they are doing. She was named a 2019 Women Breaking Barriers Award winner. She was a 2018 Founders Award from the Institute for Community Impact, 2016 Center for Leadership Award for Innovation from Cal State Fullerton, and a Difference Makers Award from the Santa Ana Chamber of Commerce. And those are just a few of the accolades that she's received. She's also been invited to be a part of a number of other boards. They want her energy and impact just like she's providing to the Wooden Floor. And so things like 1OC, which is a really exciting and important organization here in our community, Santa Ana Chamber of Commerce, the Board of Advisors at the Mahalo College at Cal State Fullerton, and the Orange County Business Council Latino Education Attainment Committee. The Wooden Floor has also been awarded, which I always am keen to pick up, as one of the best places to work in Orange County as well. So we'll talk a little bit about culture, hopefully, today, and how important that is to achieving mission and impact. Dawn and I really began our bond because her innovative spirit, kind of like mine, started early in her career, and she started in the technology industry. And in fact, she was deeply involved. We were just talking before the show about the .com era, which we both were fortunate to be a part of, and many of the audience were not. But she was deeply involved in what used to be called the Technology Council of Southern California. Actually, used to be called the Software Council. And when I first moved here about 20 years ago, she was involved in that. So we'll talk a bit today about that transition she made from the technology world to the nonprofit world and what she's drawn from to her work at the Wooden Floor. She also, as a guest, continues this recent trend that we've had of people with leadership positions in their college Greek fraternities and sororities. So I'm going to probably have to, off the air, study what it is about signing up to be a chapter president, as I was as well, that influences you in life. But Dawn, it's such a pleasure and great to have you here today.
Thank you so much, Kerry. I'm really happy to be here too.
Well, let's get to the starting line. So I didn't want to steal your thunder. So please give the audience an overview of the Wooden Floor and the work that you do.
Thank you. So the Wooden Floor was founded in 1983. We're celebrating our 37th anniversary
Amazing.
next year. So we actually today are transforming the lives of young people in low-income communities through the power of dance and access to higher education. And we do that through a really integrated approach of ballet and modern dance, but we believe that through the modern dance approach that we have, we really instill in the children innovation, discovery, and exploration, which then leads to those 21st century skills that students need today around collaboration, communication, creative thinking. And today, 100% of our students since 2005 have graduated from the Wooden Floor. Our graduates have immediately enrolled in higher education
That's amazing.
for the last 15 years. And so what we see today is that our students are really change agents and influencers today in our Orange County, but across the nation. We right now have 165 alumni going to colleges and universities right now across the nation as well.
Wow. So what does the program actually look like for one of the students when how they get involved and what they experience during the, I'm guessing, several years that they're involved before they transition out?
So the students are with us for up to 10 years,
Wow.
from third grade all the way through high school. So we offer them dance education with academic tutoring and services. And then we also offer them college and career readiness and social services. Because they're all low income in our community, it's really important that we help the parents also navigate the challenges that they face due to poverty. The children don't know they're in poverty. They just know that their families hustle and make things happen for them and everyone else in their community, So for us, it's really setting a big, bold vision for them day one. So we tell them they're the class of 2029. This is a year of graduating high school and going to college. And we've been successful in meeting that today. We also have 2 locations I should have mentioned earlier. In Santa Ana, we just opened our 2nd location. So today we serve 475 children from elementary, middle to high school, and helping those children really navigate those transitions between elementary to middle to high school also, because we have this honor to be with them. And then also we're scaling our model nationally. So our first licensed partner is in Washington, D.C. And that really came out of my work earlier in my career around IP and learning about that there's intellectual property and everything. And I found one of the best intellectual property attorney in Orange County with Rattan and Tucker, Hani Sayed. And he did all the work pro bono for us to ensure that we've actually now federally copyrighted our theory of change and everything we do with our model.
That's really exciting. So what is it? Let's get into that IP. I think that's a great comment that you made, that there's IP in everything.
Right.
And there's know-how and there's true protection from copyright and trademark, even patentable process and invention. What is it about the process or the work that you do that you feel like is really unique?
So it's really the combination of our model using dance education with academics and college and readiness and the social service component. A lot of organizations in youth development may just focus on one element of that, so education, or they'll focus on higher ed, or they may focus, but using all 3 in the component that we do, plus the different curriculum that we have for each of our focus areas of the organization are all integrated. So we have a theory of change that we've copyrighted, and sadly, only about 52% of nonprofits have a theory of change.
Wow.
And what a theory of change basically is I call it our business plan. Says how we're going to get from A to Z in a child and a family's life. And if we don't know that, how are we going to help others understand that? Our funders, our staff, our board members. So we're all aligned to that theory of change.
So let's go a little bit under the hood on that. So how has that theory of change evolved over the 37 or almost 37 years now?
So when the organization was first founded in 1983, it was founded by a sister of St. Joseph of Orange. And her goals were fairly simple in a way, was that she wanted to help kids stay off the streets one summer out of poor behavior, drugs, alcohol, and gangs. That was very prevalent there in the 80s. So she created this after-school summer intensive. And at the end of the time, the children didn't want to go back to their everyday lives and asked her if she would continue. And she's like, well, let me see what I can do. Went to the Order of Sister St. Joseph of Orange. They said she could start the nonprofit on her own. So she was an entrepreneur. And she had to bring together a board of directors and started from scratch. But then we were only serving maybe then about 40 or 50 students, but it still was a lot. She had to personally fund it like any entrepreneur. And but then what happened was I would say probably in the 90s, there was really a focus on high school graduation in Santa Ana. And she started seeing her students really needing help graduating high school, but we didn't have those wraparounds yet. And so in 99, we built our building in Santa Ana. We had a campaign that raised about then $6.5 million to build our custom 21,000 square foot building. And that's when the dreams of these wraparounds started happening, because they were happening organically. Kids would come to her around tutoring or needing help to get to college or having some trouble, because she was a nun, so they would also come to her with challenges going on at home, but she needed help. She needed an organization around her. And so it wasn't really until 2009 when I started that she retired, and the board really wanted to formalize the organization, take it to where we are today, where we have codified our theory of change. We've aligned all of our organizational goals towards college and career readiness, and making sure that we provide the opportunity for all of our children to access higher education. Even though we have been very fortunate with 100%, it's still very difficult. We have a few students that we need to nudge, and they see the nice community college for them, because sometimes the light bulb goes off for them in community college. So really, we've been really responsive to community need. That's really the hallmark of the Wooden Floor. From the 1983, the 90s, 2000s, and today where we are, we're really responding to the increased challenges around poverty that our children face in the county.
So I think there's a great story here. As we were talking about off the air, I started Accelerate OC to really pull together the innovative people here in Orange County, and I would characterize you as one of those for sure. And taking what, as you said, started as a fairly simple entrepreneurial vision of, I just want to try and help these kids, and now has a licensable theory of change and system that you're taking to other communities. That's very innovative. But the vision, I'm sure, and the ambition even has evolved.
Yes.
As the organization, and I think that's something that a lot of entrepreneurs should understand as well. I get a lot of people that will come to me as a advisor or investor, and will provide this grand vision of change in the world that they're trying to have, but they have to start with something smaller to ever get to that.
Right.
Was there a grand vision, or have you seen that vision? Long-winded way to get to a question. Have you seen that vision and ambition change over the years as your time there? And you talked about really codifying everything.
Right.
Where is the organization today as you think about the next 5 to 10 years and where the Wooden Floor can go? Because clearly there are more people here in Orange County that you can serve as well as nationally.
Right. So we really took it. Well, let me go to the beginning part. So I think it evolved from helping kids after school in a small dance program. Then as it moved in the 80s and 90s, it was really about using what we call wraparounds in the nonprofit sector, those systems that help support the student's journey. The goal in the 90s was just high school graduation, and then in 2005, when we had our first class graduate 100% go to college, that really then set the glimmer of, could this be possible? But it really wasn't until 2009 when we really formalized that as an organizational goal. I don't say it's a child goal. The child goal is for them to reach their full potential, and we hope that's positive decision making. And one of them is college, but so we don't put that pressure on the student. We do let them know that other stories, as Paul says, stories of other children that have done it, so they know they can to their peers. And so we really story tell to the children as well. But so where we are today, it's really around prudent growth. And I know we talked about what's prudency, but it's really like making sure that we're not growing for growth's sake.
Sure.
And so locally, the goal is to grow in an approach that we actually are pre-funding growth. That's something I learned from the innovation, or software and high-tech industry, I should say, is, you see a lot of organizations grow, they get funded, and what happens 2 or 3 years later, they're hitting the divot. And for me, I just didn't want to do that for us. And so what we're doing is we're pre-funding each location before we grow up to about $3 million. And that's for 10 years of operating to add 100 more children. So we just did that for our second location. And now we're currently working on a third location in Santa Ana. And right now that's our plan. We just want to have, and for us, it's not just because 3 locations when we only had 1 up until
That's amazing. Yeah.
2018 from 1999 is huge. And then the other is that this plan for scaling growth nationally is coming out of the fact that we really want to have a controlled brand here in Orange County for today. But the idea is by scaling is that we can then license our model to another nonprofit who knows their community, has their own brand, has their own funding streams. They govern and program the organization in that community. So in Washington, D.C., City Dance Dream is currently implementing. They signed the agreement in 2015. And today they're just implementing because it took them a while to get themselves organized and ready to launch. And for me, I just was out there last in September, and I used to say to people that our model, what we were trying to affect, maybe I'd never meet those children that are going to benefit from the wooden floor, but actually we went to a site visit, we saw them with their 3 dance studios and their education space, and they're running our model just as we do here. And I got to meet those children, and to know that that they're benefiting from the work here is very powerful.
Oh, absolutely.
And just very moving. When you put so much effort into have this vision for a licensed model, to actually see it in the community was pretty incredible.
That's a great story. So let's go a little bit to you, Dawn. You, as I said in the introduction, you started your career in the technology industry and felt pulled into the nonprofit world. Take us through that realization and sort of your decision making there, and what you've found for yourself through that journey.
Okay, so take you back. I always like when someone asks you a question, you go all the way back, but I have to go back because my goal was when I graduated Cal State Long Beach, I was, as you said, sorority president, and a friend of mine who's sorority sister's his father was looking to start a company, and I needed a job because my current job was ending when I graduated. I was a teacher's aide, and I wanted to be a teacher and a principal. So I said to him, "Well, I'll work for you, but I'm going to go back to become a teacher and principal." And he said, of course. Well, I didn't know who he was. He at the time, and he passed a few years ago, but he was a management guru, a leader, a visionary. He had a company called Randall Data, and I learned so many things from him. And one of it was that he took a company public, and it went bankrupt a few years later because he launched a product in the middle of the launch of the company at the same time. And he said, you just cannot chase 2 rabbits. You have to stay focused on what you're doing. And that was one of my first life lessons of him. And he basically was a Druckerite before anyone else was. And he was in tech and which is now Vistage. And so I just feel like I got an MBA from him. So I was a psychology major coming out of college. And through him, I was trained in finance, org development, strategy, business development, marketing. And
what a gift.
It was like I said, a pseudo MBA. And I was with him for 10 years. And during that time, he said he wanted to start a trade association for the technology sector. And he wanted me to figure it out. That's how he was. He would just throw me these projects, and I would end up taking them on. And so I said, at the time, there's only 3 of us in the nation. There was WSA, which was funded through Microsoft. Up in the Bay Area, there was a tech organization, and then one in Massachusetts. And then we'd have to talk at the time via fax. So that tells you how long ago it was. There was not even internet then. And, today it sounds like I'm archaic and a dinosaur, but technologies move so fast. But one of the things that I loved about the company was while I didn't work in tech space, I was always around entrepreneurs who came into our office, or we'd go to their office, and I just loved the energy, the enthusiasm, the no heart, just always looking to the future, very optimistic. And so, and then this innovative cycle of just continuous improvement, which we had at the organization as well as with our clients. So fast forward is that he asked me to start the council, Software Council of Southern California. I was the first executive director, and we grew that eventually into 5 regional chapters. And I came back to the council after I started it. I was volunteer because Randall donated my time. And then at one point during the .com, I call it .com crazies. That's when it was like the gold rush days. If for those out of there who don't know, that's how it felt.
Yes.
And money was just flowing, deals were happening, and they brought me back in to be there for all the members and all the new members coming in. And that was at a point at the same time where Software Council started, the whole economy started struggling in 2002, and I ended up leaving the council. And I was at this position where I could easily have gone into for-profit. And I was at this place of what did I like about working in nonprofit? What did I like about starting a nonprofit, serving mission-oriented type work? And I really just did a deep dive of myself for about a year and just tried to figure that out. And I had the luxury of that too, because my husband's business, he's an illustrator. He was doing really well, so I could stay home and really take that time to really figure that out. And so when I went in my next course, I decided to look in the nonprofit sector and really see if I could bring my business strategy into the sector. And when I started working for Opera Pacific in 2004, I still wasn't 100% sure. I felt I was in a finance role and I felt like I could go either direction. But in reality, it wasn't until I went to a program called Fieldstone Leadership Network. It's a nonprofit leadership program here we have in Orange County. And I took that and I saw like-minded people around the table. When I saw like-minded innovators, leaders, strategists, I'm like, okay, this is the place I can be and add and bring my, like you said, enthusiasm for helping people in a strategic way, so.
That's great. Well, thank you for sharing that story. So as you think about that now, you've been at Wooden Floor, as I said, for almost 10 years. How do you hold yourself accountable to make sure that you're continuously thinking and being an innovator?
So I have an executive coach that I've had with Vance Caesar. I know some people who are listening maybe know him. I've been with him since 2013. I'm in leadership programs myself. You said I mentor, but I also I learn from my mentees, who are actually, I call it reverse mentoring. I learn from the younger people that I'm with all the time. Social media is one that I've learned from my last mentee at Cal State Long Beach. And, I also believe I go to Stanford Social Innovation. They have an institute there where a nonprofit management course. I go to all major national conferences to keep myself at the leading edge. Not only what I bring to it, but also what I learn from others. I'm a learner at heart.
Yeah, I could tell that notion of keeping yourself sharp and challenging yourself around others is a key theme that I think we hear from several folks who have been through here.
Yeah,
and
I don't feel like I have all the answers
Yes.
that I can learn from others,
Yeah, well, and as you said, the reverse mentoring, I think, is a really powerful place for people at any place in their career. And there's a whole movement now, especially with multi-generational workforces, where the idea that startups, especially in the world I tend to live in the technology world, is startups is a young person's game, but there is clearly a role for, as I'll call them, corporate elders or advisors who maybe have been through the .com era or through other eras where there are patterns and history has a tendency maybe not to repeat itself, but similar events can definitely occur.
Right. And I think accountability also is part of myself and the organization is that the children, the work we do every day keeps me super focused on what we do. And if it's outside of the theory of change or just not aligned to what we want to accomplish, then it's just, for me, it's easy to say, I'm not interested in it for myself personally or professionally, so it's that focus that I think I have that keeps me accountable.
That's great. Well, let's talk a little bit about Orange County. Dawn, you've been here for quite a while. How do you find Orange County as a place to run an organization? Not just even a nonprofit, but for all the ones that you've been involved with. How do you think of and describe Orange County as a place to run an organization?
So I think because of my previous background in for-profit and now my nonprofit, I'm really fluid in both all parts of the county, and also our model is arts, education, higher ed, and also social services. So I see the safety net issues too of the county. But one of the best things, I'm usually invited to all the major business conferences. I go to every economic forecast because I was a CFO before CEO. I like to see both ends of the spectrum so I can do it with my planning. But I find the business leaders in the county are super optimistic, very collegial, highly networked. They will open doors for anybody for an invitation, a collaboration, ideas, funding. The community here has a very corporate social responsibility focus. So the businesses I would say for the large companies as well as mid-sized companies are very philanthropic, if not also with volunteerism, board service, and other places.
Great description. That's really helpful. And I always welcome the various perspectives that I get here. And Orange County's been an interesting place. I've been here 15 years. A lot of people that have come here from other places as well. And, whether that's internationally or other parts of California, there's been a lot of change here in the last several decades, growth and just change in the demographic and socioeconomic
Population.
and other. That's right. So, as a result of that, I always feel like we're naturally changing here, and it can sort of happen, or we can be more intentional about it. So are there any things as you look out over the next several years, any trends that you see that you say, oh, I think we need to pay more attention to that, or else it could be long-term problematic?
Ramifications.
Yes.
So I think there's a couple areas that we just did a strategic visioning work for our 2131 vision.
Very cool.
I like to have something teed up before our next one's done. I plan to be here a long time, I find with what I did also at Oak Tree, we're already working into it as you've set this vision. We don't have it codified into all the specifics yet. We use our strategic plans, like chapters in a book, towards furthering that vision. But one of the things really is focusing on is for the business community is that there's a lot of first generation students coming out of college and they're graduating, but it's been difficult for them to find jobs. And it's not because of lack of jobs. It's really a lack of networks in order to navigate into, because they're now an engineer, but they don't know how to find an engineering job. But you would say, well, why not? Well, the problem is that they have to work a real job while they're in college. They don't have the luxury of an internship. So one of the things that we're looking at today is how to create some of these internships for our alumni who are graduating from the wooden floor into some of our corporate partners and other opportunities. And I think that's an opportunity for the whole region to look at, is how can companies really look at internship when they look at that on a resume and maybe have another viewpoint of, wow, is this a first generation student who couldn't get an internship? Maybe we need to look at just them working as one of those significant parts of that job, because they still are getting a mechanical engineering degree. They may not be able to work in something.
Yes.
Great
example.
The other thing I think is more societal is that I think there's sometimes in Orange County a tale of two cities.
Yes.
And I think the 405 is the great divide. And so there's a lot of people that think we don't have poverty in our own county. And poverty amongst children is up 24% just since 2010. And so in the low income communities, and there's poverty everywhere in the county. A lot of people don't know that, even in Irvine and places. And so one of the things that we're really focusing on is helping others just really understand that there is poverty in the county and what they can do to really make a difference. And then the other one is really social, which I think has long-term implications to employment, is really around mental health. We've done a deep dive on that. I'm also chairing a subcommittee on mental health for Santa Ana with the Santa Ana Chamber of Commerce. And we're really focusing right now in middle school because mental health usually was more young adult, moved into high school, now is hitting middle school and even elementary school. And so those traumas that children face have long-term implications to workforce development down the road. So there's been a really big county initiative on really working at how do we bring accessibility to healthcare and mental health care.
Yeah, that's a huge topic, and I know this is a place you look at. Be Well OC
Right.
as a new initiative and say, okay, there's some really innovative, interdisciplinary and high inclusion efforts underway
Right.
that Orange County could lead the way nationally,
Yes.
even globally
Right.
on this topic.
Right.
And
And I
that's
think
really
it's
exciting.
I think it's for us. We've been doing some field work and asking different partners to come in. Be Well is going to be coming in soon. One of the things we're really seeing it's there's the resources there, but is it the accessibility and understanding of how to navigate into those systems?
Yes.
Because where we're seeing it is really across all school districts, all parts of the county, but it's really also very predominant in the low income communities.
Well, I appreciate greatly that you've raised the topic of access and inclusion, and I think that description of a first-generation college student having a challenge finding that first job is a perfect example and very real and very clear, hopefully, for the audience to understand. And I see it on a number of levels. Number one is that a lot of the more established companies here haven't had the kind of network into the local schools here, and they've relied on a process of trying to find people that have already had one or two jobs and
Right.
said, I want to hire that person that already has 3 years of
Internship experience.
And I can say very personally, I've had incredible success throughout my career in giving people that first job.
Right.
And the appreciation and the resilience and grit and commitment that they've demonstrated
Right.
from that has just been incredible to see, and it's very productive, and that idea of investing in that person is worthwhile. And so I'll go on the record and say it is worked for me
Right.
far more than it hasn't, and I challenge and hope that more here will come to that realization and make those investments, because you're absolutely right. I mean, we have this great privilege here of being in a community where we have a school like UC Irvine that now is rated #1 in the country for
Right.
first in their family to go to college. And by that nature, they're not going to be networked into the same networks that you and I are. And if we're not intentional about it, we're
Right.
going to continue to propagate that tale of two cities or county experiences. And that just doesn't create the level of richness and vibrance in this community that we all know we want.
Right. And I think, I speak to the arts is, one of the things is with Arts Orange County also is that really focus on the creative economy we have here and the quality of life we want to have with Orange County and in Southern California in general. And that, you need to invest in arts organizations and programming that's
Yes.
really going to move the needle for us. Only 1 in 20 go into dance as a major. It's today 65% of our women who are graduating are in STEM careers.
That's amazing.
And that's computer science, biotech, and so, but they are having a hard time with an internship. So I just have another story. One of our board members is director of marketing with HydroFlow, and her mother is also CEO of HydroFlow. It's a company out of Fullerton, and she said, she was looking for some interns, and she said, well, I'm going to call the wooden floor. So
That's great.
and so we're actually testing it right now. It's not a formal kind of program with us, but we're just getting feedback from her as like how our students are doing. Are they acclimating? They're doing fabulous. She came to a board meeting last week and just talked about how she's just so excited, and now is going to keep it as an open pipeline for our engineers that are coming out of the wooden floor to work for it. And they don't have to be just mechanical. She wants them to figure it out with her, to talk to the other engineers, and maybe they get to the point, it's like maybe it's not, maybe it's civil engineering or biotech or whatever, but she wants them to have that first job, like you said.
That's amazing. So, Dawn, I spent a lot of time on here with entrepreneurs and have had some, incredible visionary and successful entrepreneurs in your chair over the months that I've been doing this. But many have admitted that they're just, while they're building their company, while they're running their organization, they're just not as active in the community as maybe they could or should be. So what, as somebody who is the head of a really important philanthropic organization here, making incredible impact in people's lives, but also multi-threaded and involved in so many other things, what advice would you give for them?
Well, I don't want to speak for all the county, but we do see that the tech community isn't serving on boards or being involved in skilled-based volunteering like I think they can be. We actually are really excited. I'm not going to say the company, but we have a major company now with us, and also Edwards Life Sciences is also, they know, we talk about them all the time, but this other company is brand new, and they're a huge tech company. That's just not as common if you think across the board with nonprofit, but I think it can be. I think it's just a matter of intentionality. Like you do anything, if you want to set your sights on, there's a lot of resources to get connected, like through 1OC or the individual nonprofits. I always tell everybody who wants to get involved in board service or governance or just being involved in nonprofit and volunteering is that you need to just find something that you have passion and purpose for. So, it might not be tech. Maybe it's you love dogs.
Yes.
You love fish. You love the environment. You love who knows what it is. You love kids, just pure kids. So, it's just find your passion and purpose and really ask yourself, where do you want to be? And then it won't feel like you're taking time out of your busy life because it becomes your life. I'm also involved in the Institute for Community Impact. I'm on the board of directors for the Passkey's Foundation. That institute is a initiative under that, and we bring business leaders and community leaders together. And I just highly encourage people that are listening to go to the Passkey's Foundation. They meet 3 times a year at the Center Club in the morning. And what's great about it is the nonprofit gives a strategic impact question to the group. They get to popcorn ideas, and it would be so great to have the tech community come out and just be part of that, because I think they're the number one solution providers, the tech community, problem solvers, creative thinkers. They ask the why nots, kind of questions of the world, and to have that dialogue and that other part of the sector that's not represented would just add so much to the dialogue.
That's great. And thank you for sharing a very clear approach as to where people could engage.
And it's both business and nonprofit leaders.
Yes.
So, and the goal isn't for a nonprofit, networking event. It's really a business leader event, and that's both for nonprofit and for-profit sector.
That's great. Well, Dawn, unfortunately, I'd love to talk more, and we'll find another time to do that. Paul's giving me the time sign over here, so we're going to have to go to our final lap here at Accelerate OC today. And one of the things I always ask my guests to leave some parting words. You've had some great words of wisdom throughout this conversation, but what's the one key lesson or piece of advice you'd love to leave with others here that are trying to be innovators here in Orange County?
I think it's intentionality. Like I said earlier, is innovation doesn't just happen.
Yes.
It's a process. And it's easy to be complacent. And I think that's probably one of my things that worries me the most in life and in business is that you just have to be very intentional and really make sure that it's a process, an innovation cycle, really. And I believe in design thinking is really that's really a process of empathy and understanding of yourself and others. It's also a part of strategy, and it's also part of culture. And I think lastly, it's also part of trust. And so if you trust yourself and others, you're going to be very successful because you're going to have really a sense of your own intuition. And I think as an entrepreneur, it's all about intuition.
great, great words of wisdom there for sure. Dawn, thank you so much for coming here
Thank
today,
you.
for being intentional to come out and share more about the wooden floor and your personal journey. And there's just so much value to be shared in your wisdom and leadership and the organization that you provide here to our community and the impact that you're driving. You're definitely doing your part to accelerate OC. Welcome to
you.
the family.
Thank you.
You've just listened to Accelerate OC. Join our live recordings every Tuesday morning at accelerateoc.com or listen, like, and share anytime from your favorite podcast spot. Let's accelerate OC together.